Ahoy, this is Zdenka. In this video, you will learn everything when it comes to smartphone macro photography, including camera settings and lighting tips, so you can achieve results like these. This video is brought to you by Reeflex. Let's start with basic macro mode in the native camera app. To be able to take macro photos in native camera app, you need to enable macro mode. Let's go to camera settings and scroll down until you see macro control. Enable that. Now when you go to the native camera app and move closer to any subject, you will see this flower icon. When you get even closer to the subject, the camera will automatically switch to an ultra-wide camera to take macro photos and videos. If you noticed that my app looks slightly different than yours, it is because I have iOS 26 developers beta installed on my phone. Even though the look might be slightly different, all settings remain the same. When you take photos with a macro feature, you will get basic photos like these. The subject will be sharp, and you will get a little bit of a blurry background. These shots are great for enabling spatial scene, as you will get this cool 3D effect. Let's take it to the next level. To be able to get really nice professional looking images with sweet bokeh in the background, you will need an add-on macro lens, such as this Reeflex G series 10x traditional macro lens, or this Super Telephoto 240mm lens that you can convert into a macro lens if you use this 200mm macro extension or 300mm macro extension. I'm going to link all of this below the video in a video description. Let's start with traditional 10x macro and explain everything you need to know to be able to take macro shots with this lens in native camera app. Before we start, understand the single most important concept. You don't focus by tapping on the screen, you focus by physically moving the phone. An add-on macro lens has a fixed focal distance. Your job is to move the entire camera back and forth by millimeters until your subject falls into that razor-sharp focus. I'm going to mount the lens over the main camera. It has a 17mm mount. I'm also using a Reeflex phone case. The next thing I have to do is disable the macro feature to be able to use this lens in the native camera app. Simply tap on the macro icon. Minimum focusing distance is 1.5 centimeters. The best way to take the shot is to get very close to the subject and then slowly and steadily move the entire phone closer and further away until I see a very thin slice of the scene pop into perfect focus. Now I'm going to stop and take the shot. The depth of the field in macro is always incredibly shallow, so you need to focus on the most important part. For an insect, this is the eye. For a flower, it might be the tip or stamen. Not everything will be in focus. You have to make a creative choice of what you want in focus. You also have to pay attention to a shadow. If you see shadow, you will have to move around and shoot from different angle. This usually happens if the sun is out. Let's mention lighting tips. The best light for macro photography is to shoot on overcast days, as the clouds act as giant natural diffuser or softbox, providing soft and even light. The golden hour is another option, as it offers very soft and warm light. This is happening just after sunrise or before sunset. The most challenging light you will get is with the midday direct sun. This creates harsh shadows and blown out highlights. If you must shoot in bright sun, find a shady spot or use your body to block the direct light. As I already mentioned earlier, it's much easier to take macro photos with this Super Telephoto 240mm lens and these two macro add-on or macro extensions. as you can be much further away from the subject. Let's start with a 200mm extension, and once again, let's bring the photos to the next level. First of all, this telephoto lens has been made for a telephoto camera, so this is where I'm going to mount it. To be able to use this lens, you have to use third-party app. It doesn't work in native camera app. Why? This is what you see in the native camera app. There is no switch to enable the lens. The app I'm going to be using is Reeflex Pro Camera app. The app is designed only for iPhones. If you have an Android phone, you can use the native Pro Photo app. The first thing I'm going to enable is Telephoto lens. The next thing I will enable is the photo format, which is crucial. There are 3 available: RAW, ProRAW, and HEIF. I'm going to avoid HEF as that is compressed file, a newer version of JPEG. The second option is RAW. RAW file captures much more data than HEIF or JPEG, giving you far greater flexibility to adjust exposure, white balance, and colors in editing without losing quality. The third option is ProRAW, and this is what I am going to select. ProRAW is a combination of RAW and iPhone image processing. I've seen tons of examples, and it seems like this format really does look the best. What I also highly recommend enabling is grid lines, as it helps with composition. I will also enable focus peaking, as it will help me see better what's in focus. I'll leave everything in automatic mode, and now I am ready to take the shots. The only thing you can adjust in the case you see the photos too bright is the exposure value. You can always bring it down a bit. Composition and creativity plays a very big role when it comes to macro shots. What you need to pay attention to is your background, not only the subject. If the background is distracting, there are way too many elements, the subject is simply not going to stand out. The best shots are where the background is very simple and clean. If you just move a few inches left or right, it will dramatically change the background. You will find a clear view that works just as well for the shot. Many people just take macro shots from above. Don't just shoot from above. Get down low and shoot from the subject's perspective. An eye-level shot of an insect is far more interesting than a top-down view. The views we don't typically see from our eye level standing up are the views that are the most interesting, as we don't normally see them. Let's grab the 300mm add-on extension. As you can see, I can now be even further away from the subject. This gives me a very safe distance for taking shots of bees, everything that can sting me. The Reeflex app allows you to take photos in manual mode as well. This is especially useful if you film in a bit darker lighting and you need to eliminate the grain in the shots. Let me show you settings for taking photos in the daytime. The first thing I'm going to control is white balance. I could set the white balance manually, but I'm finding that this app does a very good job at selecting white balance automatically. That works very well for macro shots. All I do is tap on the screen. If you prefer to set your white balance manually, 5600 Kelvin is great for daytime. During golden hour, you want to bring it down a bit between 2800 and 3000 Kelvin. You want to cool it down a bit. Again, in my case, I prefer to stay with automatic feature as I am finding that the app does a very good job. I will bring the ISO all the way down to the lowest number possible. ISO controls sensitivity to the light. When it's too bright, we tend to squint with our eyes. It's the same thing with ISO. The darker it is, the more you open your eyes. You will do the same with the camera. You will bring the ISO up to a higher number. Shutter speed is the last setting. I will just bring it all the way up until I see that the image is properly exposed. You can also enable histogram to see that no highlights or shadows are crushed. You want the curve to happen nicely in the middle. That is all I have to do. Now I'm ready to take the photos. All the gear is linked below the video in a video description. Give it a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Don't forget to subscribe for more, and I'll see you in one of those videos next. Ciao, ahoj.